Donna David, and I came to Inspire through my dear friend Sandy Smith. She invited me to attend, and this has been one of her lifelong dreams, and so I was very excited to be a part of the beginning of Inspire. I have met a lot of wonderful women through this program, this luncheon, and I am excited to see where it's going to go. And each luncheon I learn something new, and I always take away something positive. I would like to encourage any of you that would love to attend to please come and join us. We'd love to have you.
Hi, I'm Karen DeYoung, and I was invited to Inspire by one of my dear friends, Donna David, who just introduced me to Inspire and asked me to come to lunch, and she was speaking that day, and her topic was choosing a word. And by the end of that lunch, my word was purpose. And I had not really volunteered for quite some time. Now that it's time that I get back out there, do some volunteer work, that I wasn't sure what my purpose was. Within a couple of days, I got a couple of phone calls from ladies that I had met during lunch, and one was, let's just go to lunch, and we were talking, and she was telling me about a couple of different things that she had run across, and one of them was there's an organization called Bless the Kids, and she told me about this lady that might need some space, and I have a building downtown that happened to be vacant, so we had the opportunity to get together with Bless the Kids, and they were able to move into the space and provide over 300 backpacks to kids in need of, backpacks and school supplies at the beginning of the year. And this was all due to Inspire and the things that have come about through this group. So I invite any women that are out there that are looking for friendships, meeting new people, and that just want to really be inspired, come on out for lunch and join us.
I'm Sandra Cantrell, and I work with Bethany Christian Services, and I've been a part of Inspire since the initial meeting that we had, and I look forward to it every single month. It is indeed inspiring. It's very encouraging to meet with other women. I love the relationships that I formed as a result of being here, and Sandy and her crew do just a great job at making it very worth our time, and our time together is very special. I have no problems inviting every woman that I meet. I let them know about Inspire, and some have come and found it to be just as encouraging and uplifting as I have.
My name is Leah Ashford, and being a part of Inspire has been so encouraging because over the last 6 months I've made new friends just that I see each time at Inspire, but also I've connected with about 5 or 6 different women that we have met outside of Inspire for dinners, for lunch. I have somebody I'm going to the movies with, etc. But also someone I met with recently to talk more in depth about a really tough, traumatic event that was happening in her life, and being able to give her some support and ideas of things she could do to ease what was happening and to make it better. And so I found Inspire is helping women to connect with each other in all sorts of different ways and encourage each other in this journey that we have in life.
Hi, my name is Sandy Gunnerson, and I'm so excited to be able to share with you about the Inspire Network. Inspire came about from really a conversation that I had with the co-founder, Christy Moss. We got together and said, there's a need in our area in regards to business women and them not having any type of a support group. And what if we were to just have a lunch once a month? And from that one conversation came Inspire. So we said, let's be intentional. Let's make it at lunchtime. Let's make sure that we are an hour long. We wanted to make sure that it was encouraging and motivating. And so we thought, what if we had a speaker come and just share something very motivational to them? We also wanted it to be a place where purposeful relationships could be cultivated, and we thought that can only happen through conversation. And lastly, we decided another really important factor was women need to be refreshed. And so if we could make a luncheon that lasted an hour to an hour and a half, have a speaker come and give a message 15 minutes long, and then be able to have women share about what their takeaway was from that day, so that at the end of the lunchtime they were able to go back and be refreshed. How incredible would that be? So it was a concept that we came up with, and in April of this last year we decided, let's try it. So we tried, and we had our first Inspire Luncheon, and I'm happy to say it was a success. I'm really excited about Inspire. I have such a heart for the women of Modesto, and my goal is that one day this 25-30 numbered group would turn into maybe 250 to 300. Why? Numbers aren't important, but women are important. And if we can somehow get these women here to be encouraged so that they know they matter, and that there's a place for them to go to be encouraged, to build purposeful relationships, to encourage living life intentionally, and for once in a month they can feel refreshed. That would be an incredible thing.
Good morning. That was the first time I saw the video. I'm a little choked up. How many of you have ever had a dream so close to your heart? Wasn't going to do this. And to be able to see it just unfold before your eyes, and then to see the testimonials and say, God, you're so good. That's what just happened this morning for me, so bear with me. My name is Sandy Gunnarsson, and I am the co-founder of the Inspire Network. And I thought I was going to have to explain it because I didn't know the video was going to take place. So we can kind of just move right along. But if you are here today and you either know a woman or are a woman who think that they would enjoy coming to Inspire, we'd love to be able to tell you a little bit more about it. I'll be in the back, and after the Catalyst meeting. We meet on the second Thursday of every month at the Familia Bistro on McHenry. And this next week, next Thursday, Sandra Cantrell will be our speaker, and she'll be speaking on the keys to living a joy-filled life. So we'd love to have you come out. Can we just take a moment right now? And I'd like to, let's just pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for being with us this morning. We thank you for every person here. I know that it's no coincidence that we're here today, God. Pray that you would bless connections that are made, that this city would be impacted as a result of those connections. We just thank you for this opportunity. In your name, amen. Well, if this is your first time to Catalyst, Catalyst is pretty much made up of influential business people, people in the community, people of faith in the churches, people who want to see this city impacted and are willing to come together, connect, and to do this together. That's what Catalyst is all about, and really why City Ministry Network really exists, to gather all of us together. So sitting at your table, you should see this flyer, the Catalyst flyer. And if you want to go ahead and take a look at it, on the back, it's a whole list of all the different cohorts, the different ministries, the different meetings that are taking place throughout Modesto. Please don't discard this. Please take this, take a look at it, and possibly make a decision that you're actually going to support or actually attend one of these. In fact, Inspire's on there, so we would love to have you come. Another plug. At this time, I'm going to have you, if you haven't done so already, please turn to the person next to you or in your table. And this is our time we actually get to introduce ourselves, let each other know the organizations that we are a part of. And if you think it's even relevant, share a story about how your organization is making an impact in the city of Modesto.
Like deer to the pool, I'm coming after you. Like a thirsty animal, my heart is for your love. Like Jonah from the deep, I'm coming out of my sleep to find the secrets that you keep. Is the only thing worth rising for. From the dirt you draw me out, and you draw me out again. I'm coming back from the dead, I'm coming out of my skin. And you are everything my my soul. From the day you draw me out, and you draw me out again. I'm coming back from the dead, I'm coming out of my skin. And you are everything my heart wants, everything my heart wants. My heart runs after you. And you are everything my heart wants, everything my heart wants. My heart runs after you. Like Jonah from the deep, I'm coming out of my sleep to find the secrets that you keep is the only thing worth rising for. It's a real love, run the length of our veins as we sit above the miles of pain, till all of our fears become skinny ones. And from your window I can see a kingdom come. Hearts will wage war, but in the settling dust, what remains at the end of us? Our skinny fears for our cold.
All right, take one more minute at your tables.
everybody folds, cinder and stone. Everybody folds, cinder and stone. Everybody folds, cinder and stone. Everybody folds, everybody
All righty. Do you guys have a good time? Interacting at your tables? You know, if when we have done surveys about why do people come to Catalyst, the number one reason that you all say is, man, it's about interacting with others. It's about getting to know people, and it's amazing the different people that you might be at the table with, that you get to connect with, and amazing things can happen from that. You know, when we're networking, connecting, and it's just, so it's, yeah, I just love the buzz here in this room here. You know, when we plan our Catalyst gatherings, we kind of have two things in mind. The first kind of themes, I guess, would be those that, if there's a need in our community, if there's a significant need we focus in on, and we have that as a theme for that morning, and we have someone to address that need and talk about how we can make a difference in that need, who in our city is making a difference in that need, and then what can we do to contribute. That's kind of half of kind of the catalysts that we do throughout the year. The other half are like what we're going to be doing this morning, is what's a way that we can train and equip all of us here to be the kind of leaders, to be the influencers that we need to be in our community. What are some qualities, character traits, or skills, or things like that we bring forward here and discuss and then interact with, so that we can be all that, you know, God wants us to be, you know, in our community. And so that is where our focus is at this morning. And it's exciting to have Ira Brill with us with Foster Farms. And would you welcome Ira as he comes up and addresses us?
Thank you for having me today. First, an announcement. I think on the little program card, it said that I was going to talk about the art and science of building your brand, but that's a lot of marketing speak, and I've been talking about that for 30 years. So I thought I would talk about really leadership and leadership in crisis. And let me ask this question. How many of you are interested in history? Raise your hands. Great, because I'm going to talk a lot about history. And for those of you that aren't interested in history, I'm going to try to make this interesting as well. I have a very, very deep interest in history because, like the Spanish philosopher George Santayana, I believe that those who do not remember the past are condemned to relive it. But to put that more positively, I think there's a great deal that can be learned about leadership in crisis from studying history. Now, you'll see behind me that there are no slides, there's no PowerPoint, and next Thursday I'm going to speak to the Foster Farms Board of Directors for what I think is the 28th time in a little over 8 years. And each time I do that presentation, I have a very elaborate PowerPoint and videos, interactive things and things like that. And each time, the thing breaks down. So I thought I would spare myself and all of you that experience. But I did bring something with me that I want to share with you. And this is and I'm going to pass this around. This is a photo that has tremendous personal meaning for me. This is a photo of John F. Kennedy. And it was taken on November 6, 1960. It was taken in a town called Comac, and I grew up near Comac. It was taken 2 days before he was elected president. And he was speaking to a crowd of about 10,000 people in an armory. And this picture has significance for me because my father took me to see Senator Kennedy, soon to be President Kennedy, speak, and it was an experience that I never forgot. So I'm going to just pass this around. And I would like to get it back. Now, why do I bring up President Kennedy? Because when organizational theorists, when management experts, when historians, political scientists, psychologists, sociologists, when they all study leadership in crisis, invariably, Kennedy is the president that they turn to for learning. And you can understand that because for those of you that are younger than me, when Kennedy took office, America was in the middle of the Cold War. And many of you probably remember his inaugural address, and I'm going to read to you one of the more famous passages. Let every nation know, whether it wishes us well or ill, that we shall pay any price, bear any burden, meet any hardship, support any friend, oppose any foe, to assure the survival and success of liberty. Well, that was basically saying, buckle up, America, we're going to have a crisis. And sure enough, very early into Kennedy's administration, there was a crisis. It was something called the Bay of Pigs. And for those of you that are not familiar, basically the United States had sponsored an invasion of Cuba that Castro defeated in about 2 days. And 118 Cuban Americans were killed, and hundreds more were thrown into horrendous prisons. And Kennedy was overcome with grief. It's one of the only 2 times that he literally broke down in private in the White House and wept. And his advisors told him, well, stay away from that issue. But what Kennedy did was very, very different. The next day he held a press conference and he said, there's an old saying that victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan. I am the responsible officer of this administration, and the success or failure of American foreign policy resides with me. He stood up and he took responsibility. And in any crisis that you ever experience as a member of your organization, what I would tell you is that accepting responsibility, if your organization is perceived to be the sponsor of that crisis, is extraordinarily important. Now, what happened astonished Kennedy because his public approval rating skyrocketed. It became the highest in his presidency. And he actually said to one of his aides, it's amazing. The more I screw up, the more they love me. But what Kennedy had really tapped into, I think unintentionally, is that in this nation, both on a national level and on a community level, we are a people that forgive. We realize that our institutions, our political leaders, celebrities that we look up to, and we as individuals will fail. And I think it is a part of the American character that as long as you accept responsibility, the American public will forgive and allow you to begin rebuilding your institution. Now, the other thing that I think made Kennedy a great leader is that he learned as much from failure as he did from success. And I think that's a huge part of recovering from any kind of crisis that your organization finds itself in. It is learning from why you failed in the first place. So coming out of the Bay of Pigs, he looked at how the government made decisions. And one of the things that he realized was there was no central place where meetings were taking place, sometimes in the White House, sometimes at the Pentagon. So he said, in any future crisis, there's going to be one central location, and that became the Situation Room that we all know today from pictures of Obama and Bush and any other president. The other thing that he realized was he didn't even have a central group of advisors that were speaking to him about how to manage an issue. So he began to form something that became known as a crisis management team. And there were any number of other improvements that he made to decision-making that, again, all of these experts have studied and said that is the way to manage a crisis. And what this really deals with is the notion of preparedness. And I've been asked, can you really prepare for a crisis? And what I tell people is, you really can't in some ways, because crises by their very nature are so unusual that it's hard to anticipate what it is you're going to have to be dealing with. What you can try to do is improve the overall way in which your organization responds. But I think what is even more important, and so when the next crisis came, in front of Kennedy, which was the Cuban Missile Crisis, the nation was much better prepared. He was much better prepared. But I think what you have to do is look to what was the learning that he got out of the Cuban Missile Crisis, because it very much differed from his advisors. His advisors looked at it and said, you know what, we have put in place processes and means of decision-making that will enable us to master any conflict. any crisis, any decision. Because after all, the Russians had taken their missiles out of Cuba and the world seemed to be at peace. But in fact, using these same processes and these same management techniques, this same group of advisors, 3 years later, led America down the path to Vietnam. What Kennedy took out of the Cuban Missile Crisis was very, very different. Yes, he understood that he had improved the decision-making process of the government, the ability to manage a crisis. But what he did, and what made him a great leader, is that he went right to the core of the issue. What he said was, there are too many nuclear weapons in this world. He didn't say disarm, but he said we have to reduce the reliance on nuclear weapons. He understood the cause of the crisis was the proliferation of nuclear weapons. And I think most of us probably recall Kennedy's inaugural address, and it's gone down as one of the great inaugural addresses in history. But he himself went to his death believing that his most meaningful speech was a speech he gave to the graduating class of American University in August 1963. Because in that speech, he proposed a limited nuclear test ban treaty. And I would tell you that any organization, there is a great temptation when a crisis passes to simply, go back to the way things were. And the true resolution and the true improvement that you can bring to an organization or an institution is to take that learning and continue with it. That's what Kennedy did. He didn't say, okay, well, great, we solved this Cuban Missile Crisis. What he said was, I never want to get to that precipice again, and I will do what I can do as president to ensure that doesn't happen. If I look at the world that I work in, if I look at Foster Farms, and it's no secret that in 2013 and 2014, Foster Farms went through a number of food safety issues. Well, what we really did was very much what Kennedy did. We looked at those problems and we said they can never happen again. And so we put in place food safety systems now that actually make us the safest producer of poultry in the United States. And this is not simply true of Foster Farms. Every other food company, whether it was Odwalla or Jack in the Box, and I suspect Chipotle, which is now having issues up in the Pacific Northwest, every one of them learned from what their mistakes had been and rededicated themselves to ensuring that they never happen again. And I think other questions I've been asked about how do you manage and how do you rebuild from a crisis. I think one of the things that makes a crisis is it's very unique. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a crisis. And so very often the solutions to what a crisis is and the rebuilding of an organization can vary. And so if I look, for example, at religious institutions, I think, and simply as an observer and not a member of the faith, I think today the Catholic Church is much more resilient under Pope Francis than it had been under Pope Benedict, because Francis is a very, very charismatic kind of leader. And that begins to resonate, through the entire following of the church. There are other times when you have to really step back and examine your whole value set. And an example of that from business was Starbucks. Because, the reality of it is most of you probably belong to successful organizations, otherwise you wouldn't be here. But even successful organizations, fail, something goes wrong. So in the case of Starbucks, Howard Schultz, who was the CEO of the organization, said, look, we're just not doing what we did to make us a great provider of coffee and a great organization. So he closed every single Starbucks outlet for a day, and all they did was to review the values of the company that made that company great. And I think one of the other key things, too, is that, restoring faith, restoring confidence in an institution or a brand very much starts with the people who work there. And I talked about, for example, a crisis management team. Well, that's usually the core leadership of an organization. But I'm sure all of you, have colleagues that you work with, and in the case of Foster Farms, there were 12,000 employees. So it was very important, once we set upon a path, to be able to communicate that and to make sure that everybody within the organization understood that we were rededicating ourselves to food safety. And I've been asked sometimes in crisis, you know, what is the role of the press and how does that fit into it? And my experience has been that I think that the press is very sensationalized in covering crises, but it's also very accurate. It's sensationalized because the media is competing among each other for headlines and for advertising dollars. But I have rarely found that in looking at any number of different types of business and political crises, that their facts have been all that far off. When you're in the middle of a crisis, it feels like everything is being reported inaccurately, but in fact it's usually pretty true. And I've also found in dealing with the media that if you identify an inaccuracy, they are very, very quick to correct it. And so when you begin to look at how do you rebuild and what do you do, I think that it really gets down to understanding the core of your organization, understanding what is it that resulted in failure, and then beginning to address those issues. And, a couple of years ago, I read an interview with Neil Young. And Neil Young is someone whose music I've admired for many, many years. And he was asked, in 30 years of recording, what is the song that is most important to you, most meaningful to you? And he thought about it for a while, and he said, well, funny enough, the song that's most important to me I never recorded, because it was the first song I ever learned as a teenager in Winnipeg. And it's a song called What Might Have Been. And he said it really doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, whether you're famous or not. Sometime in all of our lives, whether it's a relationship, a series of events, something is going to go wrong, and you wonder what might have been. But I want to end this on a little bit more positive note and share with you some thoughts that Kennedy had when he delivered that American University address. And what he said was this, that the problems of man are largely the problems of mankind are largely made by man. And if they are made by man, then they can be solved by man. And my experience in managing crises and in dealing with institutions in crisis is that if you focus on accepting responsibility, if you understand in responding to a crisis, you have to focus on a solution that's lasting, and that after that crisis fades, you need to remain continuously focused on it. I think then in the future, you probably will not have to ask the question, what might have been? And that is my talk for today. And as you probably can tell, that I'm a great enthusiast of President Kennedy, and if any of you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I think the next part of this program is a question I would pose, and I suppose that one of the things I would say is, having listened to me talk about history and its influence on how to manage crisis and organizations in crisis, what's the one thing that you might share with other people about what you heard today? So talk among yourselves, I guess. Is that right?
Out of that gaslight, off the roads we traveled on, down by the wayside, against the sheen of Babylon, I've seen an empire taste the tempest of it gathering strong, but I am love at the end of the world. My rabbit's running on the street, hot heels of Rome. My hour's coming to reconcile with the dawn. I'm like you're the hills where I belong. Out of that good night, there was more into your arms. You are my country, like the hills where I'm love at the end of the world. Tell the reaper man, I've got nothing that belongs to him. Ruined bushes, rubble in the city of sin, but I'm love at the end of the world. Tell the reaper man, I've got nothing that belongs to him. Ruined bushes, rubble in the city of sin, but I'm love at the end of the world. You're sinking all my ships, you're climbing all my fences. The storm upon my gate, the breach in my defenses. Like the sun against the moon, you set your face against the doors in all the houses where I run, and I'm laying down my guns, and you keep coming on like Napoleon. And I lose my head enthroned in the bloody revolution. You feel the hollows of the walls in the houses where I walk. You're hanging pictures on the walls in the houses where I haunt. You're standing on my harbor, you're landing on my shore. I'm handing down my armor, You cover the mountains, the valleys below, with the breath of your mighty wings. All treasures of wisdom and things to be known are hidden inside your.
All right, take one more minute at your tables.
And in this fortunate turn of events, you ask me to feast your strength. Ask me to be your friend. And you are my first, you are my last, you are my
Orphan Sundays.
and my past. Yeah, you are my first, you are my last, you are my future and my past. The constellations are swimming inside the breath of your desire. Where could I run? Where could I hide from your heart's jealous fire?
All right, let's bring it back in here. We're gonna end a little early today, which is always a good thing, right? And hey, let's appreciate Ira and being here and sharing with us today. Ira, I'm going to have you hang up front here afterwards. If you want to interact with him and talk about John F. Kennedy or whatever, you're welcome. Yeah, or Foster Farms or whatever, you're welcome to do that. So, hey, this morning is videoed, and so we'll have it up on our website here later today. Actually, if you just go to our Facebook, any of our social media pages, and we'll email it out as well. So those you know that we're not here, that you feel like, hey, they could really benefit from this, you can share it with them. Next month is December 3rd is our next catalyst. So we're heading into that Christmas season. So we've got a unique kind of catalyst that is planned. We're calling it the Transforming Power of Gratitude in the Life of the City. And we see this morning as being just really kind of personal, and where we are going to speak life into each other, and being grateful. There's so many things that is going on in our city. There's so many things that are going on in your organizations or wherever you work that is positive. There's a lot of challenges in our city. We see it every day when we open that paper up. We know there's challenges, but there's also so much good. And we want to speak life into each other. Heading into that Christmas season, right after Thanksgiving, we're going to have really a great morning plan. It's going to be unique. It's going to be different. It's not going to be so much on the stage. It's going to be out here. And so we're really excited about next month. 2 months ago, Randy White came here from Fresno. Y'all remember that? And man, he really inspired us and some of the really amazing things going on in Fresno. And one of the things and the ideas that he talked about was about school partnerships and about what has been going on in Fresno in regard to organizations, businesses, and churches and all that partnering with their local school. So we've talked about this in our town for years, and Stanislaus Partners Education has been doing a lot of this. But in the last 2 months, there's been a lot of momentum and a lot of response from you as well as schools saying, we're in. It's time. It's time. And so on your table, there's a flyer that kind of outlines what's happened here the last 2 months. And on the screen, and if you could put that on the screen, if it is on the screen, back there, okay. So here's the big idea. What if all 64 schools in Modesto would have at least one organization? What if they had 5 organizations? What if they had 10 organizations? Church, business, service club, neighborhood group, or whatever it is, partnering with them. And on that flyer, you kind of see, here's some of the ideas that are happening now, by the way. If you go to this website, you'll see all the schools and businesses and organizations that are already partnering with each other. It's really exciting, but it needs to grow. And we're just really excited about the possibilities of our schools, our youth being invested in, and having our community being more a part being involved. And we really believe foundational for our city, this is huge. So if your organization, business, or wherever you work at, or whatever you do, if you're interested, come see me afterwards, because I would love to help get you connected. We're going to, Judy and I, we got a great team of people that are getting organizations and schools connected. And ideally, maybe it's in your local school, where you live or where you work, but maybe it's a school that's maybe in another part of town that you feel that you feel called to. We have a lot of schools in town that don't have a lot of businesses or organizations near them. And so we really need to reach out to them as well. Hey, tonight, South Modesto Partnerships is having their big grand opening, their big jump start here, and Jose Sabala, who couldn't be here this morning, but he's leading this whole charge, and we're excited about South Modesto and what is going on there. So it's tonight. If you haven't signed up yet, there's still time. Give Jose a call. Here's the phone number. All right, you can't see it, so it's 763-8395. 763-8395, and you can still be a part here. Here, let me pray, and we'll close. God, thank you so much for this morning and just what we're learning, and how we can apply it to our lives, to our work, to what we do, so that we can be most effective and see the greatest results. And God, we thank you for Marvin, our fearless leader, and we just pray for him and Cheryl today down in Arizona. God, we're grateful for the good news that she's improving, and a lot of positive things are happening there. I know they're cautiously optimistic, but I also know they're excited about being back here before Thanksgiving. And so we're really excited to have them part of our community again. And Lord, we just pray for them. Pray for her immune system, God. That's the number one thing that we're praying for. Her immune system would be able to handle those Lyme disease demons that are inside of her. And God, we want to thank you for the elections yesterday. God, we thank you for, we just pray for those who won and for those who lost. And God, I pray that for those that did not win, they would still feel encouraged that they have a lot to contribute to our community, and will be maybe even more so not being elected. And so God, I just thank you for each of them, and we're just looking forward to our city going forward. And God, give us a great day today. In your name I pray, amen. Have a good day.